is there anything specific about how you'd like to be introed?
Do you like nothing in particular. I mean, you guys are the experts here. I'm just along for the ride. So.
All right.
That's the kindest lie anyone's ever said about me.
Wait till you hear me butcher this intro at least 2 times.
we'll do 15 takes and you'll see how expert we are.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the JRPG Pursuit, a podcast about all things JRPGs, from the games we play to the games we collect and everything in between. My name is Abdallah.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Brandon.
And today we are continuing Trails Month with such a special episode.
Trails Month.
It's been a hype. We've had a lot of fun with all these different topics, kind of switching in and out with like the Trails conversations. But today we've got something special, and we've got a special guest involved. And I'd like to introduce that guest as George Peter. And
welcome.
Yeah.
Hello.
Welcome. If you don't know, George Peter is the voice actor of Alan Richard, who is a colonel in the intelligence division in Trails in the Sky. So he is one of the most coolest characters and the most dynamic character you can probably find in this arc. He is such a cool mostest. He is the colonels with the mostest.
I like that we leaned into that. Most, coolest, mostest, coolestest.
Colonel Aura Farming.
Yes, Colonel of Aura Farming. That is exactly it.
Oh, yes. Yes, welcome, George. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about yourself, just to kick us off.
Yeah.
I am a voice actor for many of things. Trails being one of them. I've had the pleasure of voicing Colonel Alan Richard, obviously, in the Sky arc now, but I've also done some work on some previous Trails games, release-wise. In the Trails Through Daybreak games, I was also one of the Holocore's Karabia in those games. I've also done some other work on some other RPGs and games like Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail. I've done some work on Street Fighter. I've done some anime. I do commercials. I do a whole bunch of stuff. But also, I'm just a big nerd, just like you guys. You know, I love video games. I love anime. I love cartoons. And, you know, so I sometimes find it a little difficult to see myself as a voice actor, more so just a nerd that happens to do a cool thing. So that's mostly me.
I feel like that's like hitting the top echelon of nerdom.
That's the best of all worlds.
Maybe.
Like you get like when you get to turn it into something that is like,
that's the dream.
You know, a career / passion.
It's pretty cool. Every once in a while, I'll have a friend group, and I'll just be like, I did that thing, and they're like, "What?" And it's always fun.
What?
But yeah.
Oh my God.
But other than that, I mean, I'm just happy that I was able to find some form of success in this career and able to be in a lot of these really cool projects, because I know I grew up, playing these games, watching these shows, and that's kind of what inspired me. And also, I know these are also kind of little beacons in people's lives too, to kind of help them get through whatever they're getting through. And so to be a part of that is just amazing.
That's awesome. And we'll want to dive into how you got started with voice acting. But before we get into that, kind of want to get an understanding of, when did you get into Trails? Like what kind of
your Trails journey?
Yeah. What was your journey like? Everyone likes to talk about that, so.
It's a very interesting story. So, one of my core friend groups, they were always obsessed with the series called Trails, and I had never heard of it. And this was way back to when it was kind of first becoming big in the West, like 2015, 2016, like right around there. There was the localization of Cold Steel that came out. And I think they had previously done Sky 1 and Sky 2 at that point. Sky 3rd was still a twinkle in the eye, I believe. I kept hearing about this game from friends. And at that time in my life, JRPGs were a bit of a newer kind of acquired taste for me. I had played some of the big ones like Final Fantasy, Persona, Dragon Quest and stuff like that. I've played some of those, but Trails was still a relatively, especially back then, it was niche. It was super niche. And, I also, just didn't really. I was more of an action game player. I really loved like Dark Souls, Devil May Cry. Like that was my vibe. So seeing these games, I'm like, it didn't quite pique my interest at the time. But then, years and years go by, and I constantly hear like secondhand information from my friends about how these games are just amazing and life-changing. And, it's slowly building that kind of interest in me to like, maybe I should check this out. But then I had eventually moved to Los Angeles to continue pursuing voice acting, and I had met Leona Renee, who many in the Trails community know was the head localizer for basically all of them. I mean, she had worked all the way since the beginning of Sky, but I believe she took over as like a head localization position at Sky Third. I think it was Sky Third, and then she also had a hand in casting for Cold Steel 1 and 2. And
she is very high up on my like people I want to meet list. Like she's
in
the top 5.
And she's absolutely amazing. And so but at the time when I met her, I didn't realize she was who she was. And when I found out that she was like the kind of the main person in charge of Trails in the West, that got me even more intrigued. I'm like, this is the game I keep hearing about from my friends. And so I had eventually decided, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. So I started with Cold Steel. I know technically the best place to start was Sky FC. But after talking with all my friends, they were just like, no, start with Cold Steel. Like that's like the most enjoyment you'll have. Yeah. And so I started with Cold Steel 1 and 2. And I wanted to continue playing. But around that time when I was finishing these games, funnily enough, the sides for Trails Through Daybreak went out, the audition sides to read for it. And I had read for the game. I was super nervous because I knew Leona at that point. And I actually like held myself back on submitting for some of the characters because I'm like, there's no way I'll ever get cast in this. No, it's just impossible. But eventually they brought me in for Daybreak, and that was an amazing experience. So I decided to skip ahead a little bit and try the Daybreak games when they came out. My goal was to actually start streaming back then to play all of the Trails games on stream. But then obviously if anybody was aware, there was a lot of actors strikes that happened. And one of the things with actor strikes is you're not allowed to promote things. And since I was technically in the games, it's considered promotion. So I couldn't stream it anymore. And I was just like, oh no, I wanted to play all these games. But funnily enough, again, during that time, the sides for Sky went out. And obviously they were so gracious enough to cast me in Sky that I was like, you know what? Let's start over. And my journey is actually going to start with Trails in the Sky first chapter, or restart, I should say. And I'm going to start from there and play all the games in order. And I want to be able to stream all that for everybody too. So that's basically my journey. But I mean, when it comes to the lore and the world and everything, just researching for Richard, I learned as much as I could. I soaked up as much as I could. I went and watched Let's Plays of, the original trilogy. I went and like studied up on the lore of the Erebonia arc, and obviously I knew a little bit of the Calvert arc because I'd worked on those games. So when it comes to the actual world and at least at the very least the skeleton of everything, just learning and reading about it and watching Let's Plays and doing all these things to kind of experience that has been such a joy. Like this series is incredible. I mean, it's almost like it's almost like a soap opera with how long it's been going and all the returning characters, but in the best way possible,
I almost described it. I was almost going to describe it as a soap opera in a video that I put out today.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
because I didn't want people to take that like connotation negatively, like, oh, it's just a cheap soap opera. But I know what you mean, right? You mean it's just like this long, super long, ongoing series with characters that are just there and continue to grow and stuff. Like, it is a pretty good comparison.
you never know too
MCU
when like
too.
a character is gonna come back out of nowhere. Like,
Right.
I mean, well, I won't get into really any spoilers, but you know,
Sure.
there are characters that come back all the time that you haven't seen for games on end, and it's almost like a soap opera. Like, yes, this character from 20 years ago in the show is just gonna magically come back. Like,
But it makes sense too sometimes.
Yeah.
Like there's all this foreshadowing that maybe we didn't pick up on.
yeah,
And it's really cool to see them back and okay. It's not just, they just wrote them in there just to write them in there. But
yeah,
it
it's not just for the fans; it's for the story.
Yeah.
A day in our Trails lives.
Yeah.
So would you say the lore is maybe one of the things that you love most about Trails, or
I
are
would
there other aspects you really like?
I would say so. I mean, the lore for the games is by far some of the best long form storytelling in, I would say, almost any Eastern media. Like not even just video games, but just like anime. Whatever it may be. It's so like the fact that it's so intricately woven. And everything matters. There's not a single thing in the lore of Trails that hasn't mattered yet. And if it hasn't mattered, it probably will be explained later on. There's very few plot holes. And just that intricate writing of each character, just a small piece in the large wheel that is the world is just incredible. I mean, the only thing I can even think of that is that like level of just detail is probably like One Piece, and people love One Piece. So I mean, it really does feel like the One Piece of gaming. It's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's like incredible with like, especially with I love the character just development, or the ability for characters just to exist and talk. I think Brandon said it really great in one of his recent, like in his video for Quartet, I think recently, where he was like kind of describing something where like characters are just left to just sit and converse, and through that conversation, you're building this like more heavy lore to the world itself, and then also these characters become very like integral to that world and to themselves. And so like
their relationships, right?
Like there's just so much there, and so much time given to them just existing and being part of it, that like it's like something you just don't see in any other game. Like,
well, I mean, like the fact that like there's NPC dialogue. Just the fact that there is NPC dialogue is something that almost no other game does, because most other games NPCs don't really matter. But like not only is there branching storylines with NPCs in the game, but also there have been numerous cases where like a little one-off NPC that you meet 5 games prior or something like that ends up coming back as like a integral character to the plot. Like all these little seeds are being planted throughout all the games that you never know where the next twist is going to come from. You might be able to guess. I've read plenty of crack theories out there about this series. I mean, even I have a few post Horizon, but like you really just don't know where it could go, and I think that's both exciting and incredible. Even when a minor character comes back, even if they're not a huge player, like for example, there was a character that shows up in Daybreak 2 that I don't think we've seen. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen since maybe Sky SC or something. I'm trying to remember specifically when the last time we saw her, and it was just such a delight. Right? To like, you come across this character and you're like, oh, it just like warms your heart. You like, I know you, like I'm seeing an old friend or whatever, but it's just like, it's an NPC, not particularly integral to the plot of this game, but like it kind of further cements the idea of this as like a cohesive world that's lived
an existing world,
real.
Because it's like years later, so like you're seeing this person who is like, now it's like probably eight years later at this point, 8 to 9 years later. So like they are this NPC is like has lived their life, and they're like in a different stage of life. So like it's interesting to see them come back again after all that time.
I mean, like, we still don't know when they're going to incorporate Nayuta, right? Because it's going to happen.
It's got to happen.
It's got to happen. So, like, for all we know, it's going to be some random NPC we met in, like, I don't know, Cold Steel that is just like, this is the key to Nayuta.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And I also like, the fact that major characters come back kind of gives us something that I always kind of wanted, even if I couldn't fully articulate it when I was younger. Like I go on this adventure with these characters and like I want to see what happens to them after it's all done, right? And we get to do that with so many of the characters that we love from these games is they show up again and we get to just have more stories with them. Like it's just I don't know, it's very fulfilling.
Yeah. It's kind of cool seeing them like do other, like they're not integral to the plot of the main game, but you just kind of see them, whatever they're doing becomes like a side aspect to those games. So like it's just interesting to see them in that context outside of being like integral to the plot
focus.
of the actual the focus of the game. Yeah, it's really cool.
When you're doing your research for your character that you're playing, like, do you think knowing that you are playing him would kind of, I don't know, like alter your expectations for the character, or how do you like? How is your, I guess, whole process going into?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm totally Richard biased now. I mean,
of course.
But Divine Blade Richard, he's coming. He's coming.
He's coming.
I'm waiting for it.
But yeah, I mean. Dissecting a character is something that every actor knows how to do, but like, especially with how much lore and plot that this world has. And, it's not even like it's a newly established character. This is, he's the OG. So there's so much, there's so much to know about this character from, what are we at now? Like at minimum to Reverie. That was 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 10 games to Reverie. That you hear about this character. Even just the little bits and pieces of like RNA or a little bit of spoilers, but like of the Divine Blade exam for Reen. Just these little tidbits. Learning about all these times that this character is mentioned. It helps a lot with the process of like figuring out where not only the character is in this moment in FC, but also where he's going. I will say though, I am intentionally keeping myself in the dark a little bit on all of the third things for Richard. Not that I don't know the plot of that game, but specifically to tell his story there, because that's really where it develops. I am keeping myself a little bit on the dark, just in case we get there. I have no idea if we're going to third remake, or even second, to be honest. But just to be able to tell that story naturally and develop with the character, is cool. Is so vital because for this series, there's really only two kind of main. At least for the male characters left that haven't really been fully fleshed out, and that's Kevin and Richard. So the fact that I was able to kind of dive in head first with him is amazing. And I mean, he's so complex. He's a lot more, because a lot of the other characters in the game are younger. They're 16, 18, early 20s, and they have teens to 20s problems, which is kind of more along the lines of finding themselves and figuring out their role in the world and just young adult things. Richard is very much not that. He has political problems. He has trying to understand his purpose in fixing the world. It's much grander problems that, a younger character just doesn't quite comprehend yet. And so being able to figure out, his role and his relationship with Cassius, trying to figure out, his purpose when it comes to his skill set and what is required of him to protect and serve his country. Like all of these things are just much bigger problems. And that's such a fun story to tell because it's a lot more mature and it takes a bit more wisdom to play. And I love that.
I feel like it's also relatable, I think, especially now. As many of us, fans, we're getting a little bit older too. And just, we have our eyes open to the world, how it's, going.
Yeah, how things are. The world is not all sunshine and rainbows.
No.
Right.
It's quite the opposite.
We have to pay
Yeah,
bills
thinking about
and
it, like,
taxes.
thinking about it from the perspective of like an OG Japanese fan, they've been with these characters for 20 years. I feel like it's been forever, and it's only been like 10 for me, right? Since I really got into the series. So like, it is very relatable. I start to connect with the older characters more as time goes on. I think that's why, like over time, my favorite MC has shifted from Estelle to Van. Just because Van's 24, which in anime years is like 40. So I really
Richard
feel
is 34.
a lot more. So Richard is dead in anime years. That's how that goes.
He is OG-san.
But just like much easier to connect with somebody who's in a similar state of life, and that's just human nature.
Yes. No.
Yeah, I mean, Van has definitely grown on me a lot, just on his kind of perspective of life. He seems very tired and just over it. He's just like, come on, guys.
Van is my spirit animal of a person. He just like he gets it. Like, you're just like, I'm done with dealing with everybody.
I mean, my true number one will always be the GOAT Kevin, but Van is definitely very like, if Kevin is here, Van is like right here. He's like very, very close.
And I don't know, depending on what happens with Kai 1 and 2 and stuff like that, if we get more Kevin stuff, he might, I don't know, might overtake.
Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, it's Kai's like, there's trailers for that everywhere. So.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I'm very happy for people to meet Kevin too in Horizon because Ray Chase is going to do a fantastic job, but like also just in general, that game is amazing, it
looks amazing.
It does.
I don't think we've got as much lore drop in that game since like Sky Third.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right.
That's intriguing.
Don't hype me. Don't hype me that much because I'm going to lose my mind. But because like we played a little bit at PAX West, just like a snippet.
A spare minimum.
Like it was like the intro. It was like one of the beginning scenes. But like just being able to see like Kevin's just like fighting with Kevin, and then also seeing his attacks and like in 3D
animation.
Like, it blew my mind. It was so good looking.
It's fantastic. I've definitely seen some gameplay, and I'm like, oh my god, this game.
I know.
I can understand why people are clawing at when January is going to come.
I know. It's going to be. I'm just going to like go into hibernation January. And play that.
Remind me, wasn't like it was originally going to come out? Was it October of this year?
I believe they didn't have a release date set. It was just fall 2025.
Fall 2025.
It
makes sense why they moved it. It makes sense.
If I had to take a educated guess, I would assume it's to allow Sky First to breathe. To get whatever sales it needs to get and. Proper promotion and things like that. Because I mean, I think also too, again, this is all just educated guesses, but this is Falcom's, first worldwide release. So they probably still are trying to figure out how to do all of this, and
exactly.
And the house might be a little bit on fire for them just to try to get things going. And so they were like, hey, Nisa, mind delaying it, please? Thank you.
Can we punt on this real quick? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think even
sense.
that's why the East versus Trails that's going to be coming out this year was having a little bit of issues too.
That's what I speculate too.
Yeah. I think they were trying to figure out how to like time everything
between the lines.
Yeah.
Because they were all like when they announced like all these different like potential like release dates, and I was like they're all like, right at the same time,
bunched
and I was like
together.
That's silly. Don't
get me wrong. That it's amazing for Trails fans, but like logistically from a business standpoint, it's just it's not feasible.
Makes no sense.
Yeah,
exactly. Like they're gonna like it's gonna alienate. Like I mean, just like you can't sell all those games at once. You gotta leave it time to breathe and stuff like that. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm excited, and I'm curious to see how like they're now like. They're succeeding with like worldwide release of a game, both in Japan and America, or like across the world. How that's going to apply to maybe the next Kai game, or like
future
the next
games,
the future games, whatever that's going to look like. Are we going to get that as a simultaneous release? And I'm like, I really hope so.
I don't know. I wish I knew more. It would be awesome to know more, both as a Trails fan, but also as somebody kind of behind the scenes for it. But genuinely, I think actors are like the last person that's in the loop. I mean,
everything else is done by the time. Yeah.
Exactly. There's some stuff I didn't even know about until it was announced from Gung Ho and stuff like that. Like I didn't know who was voicing Lawrence until it was announced.
Really?
Yeah, like because when you go into record, you don't know, like everything's under NDA. I had to like pry just to figure out who Amalthea was when I was in the session.
Interesting, yeah.
So like you don't know anything unless you hear them because they came in and recorded before you. And you hear their voice, but Travis had not done any of Lawrence yet. So I didn't know I was sharing scenes with Travis Willingham. I was like, "Oh, hello." So,
well, speaking of that, like, why don't you? Would you mind telling us a little bit, like, kind of about the behind the scenes process, like how recording for Trails and video games in general tends to go?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's. I wish it was like a lot cooler than it actually is. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a cool job, but what I mean is like, it's a very solemn kind of experience, or very, very sequestered. Very rarely does ensemble recording happen nowadays. So most of the time, the way it works is, you just get scheduled for a specific amount of time. For me, I did all of Richard in about 2 4-hour sessions. And you just kind of, you go in, you have your director, you have the audio engineer, and then you have the representative from Gung Ho in the room with you. And it's all just off of a spreadsheet. We're doing lines kind of back to back to back. And so the only time I ever really get to work off of somebody else is if they happen to come in before me and their character is speaking directly before one of my lines. So I got to hear a little bit of Amalthea. I got to hear a little bit of Duke Dunan. I got to hear, obviously, a bit of Estelle and Joshua. But for the most part, I don't really get to hear a lot of that. So it's just instinct on what to do with a character. Sometimes with JRPGs, you might have some of the Japanese as reference to kind of like get you in the pocket of where you need to be for stuff like that. And I did do a lot of that for Daybreak and Daybreak 2, but for this game, because it was such a big character and it was, we were doing it at the same time as Japan, all of it was kind of just me. And just my instincts, what I felt was right for the character, input from the director, and trying our best with different kind of reads for lines. So we just go through the whole game, line after line after line. We do a couple of takes of each line and see what sticks, and then it's just really in the director's vision of what they want. I mean, a lot of this stuff you don't even know how it's going to turn out until it's out. So I didn't know any of the the only reason I even knew some of the context for the scenes was because I knew about the original FC and how the story goes and roughly where they are. But like trying to paint a picture in my head, even that was just like a 2D game. So it's really just a lot of imagination of trying to get it right. And so a lot of actors don't even see it finished with all the lines, together, everybody's acting in the scene and the finalized product until the very end when it comes out. I think the only things that I ever saw in production were some of the final scenes of the game, without spoiling too much for anybody who's new to first chapter, but like some of those final scenes with Estelle, Joshua, Cassius, and stuff like that. Like I got to see a little bit of that, but it's very much just you kind of go in, do your lines, and then you're out.
I'm wondering if you can say more about so like coming into the booth and in those situations where you don't have the voice of the other person to provide context for what's being said, or even just like, you know, how like different intonations can drastically change like the meaning of a sentence, even if it's the same words. Like, how do you in the booth, like handle that sort of situation where you have the words of the person, what they're saying, but you don't necessarily know exactly how they said it?
Luckily for this project, the director was kind enough to kind of give you just, you know, not anything super crazy, but just like a line read of the other characters if they weren't already recorded. So it kind of helps, you know, it helps a lot for actors just to have something to respond to. Rather than just reading the words on the page. So just that little bit of having the director kind of read the line that goes before you, you know, with a little bit of effort in it, so you can have something to respond to was fantastic. So there were times where he would read Lawrence's lines. There were times where he would read some of Estelle and Joshua's lines if they hadn't finished recording those yet, and stuff like that. And then I would just kind of do my best to listen and respond to the situation. There was also some times where he would read Niall for me because I share some scenes with Niall Burns. And it's mostly just doing your best for responding to the character, but also doing what's called like a cold read. You know, a lot of the times we don't get to see too much in advance. I think I had, and this sometimes can even be a rarity, but I think I had like a day or two in advance to sit with the script of the game just to kind of figure out where I wanted to go with the character and things like that. But there are times where you don't even have time with the script. You show up the day of and you see everything and you have to just come up with something on the spot and figure it out as you go. So just the ability to both quickly get yourself into character, being able to have good cold reading skills to just be able to see it for the first or second time and immediately just kind of get it. And then just a lot of trust that the director has a bigger vision and they're, you know, trusting that if they say it's good, you're good. And also trusting the localization, that the writing is going to be, you know, good. Trusting the engineer to make sure you're sounding good and you're, you know, recorded well and levels and everything are good. And it's just a whole lot of trust all the way around to make sure we all get it right. And seeing some of the finished material so far with the people playing the demo and, you know, some of reviewers uploading clips onto YouTube, it seems like we did a pretty good job with what we had. So yeah,
seems like it.
For sure. I'm also curious, when you are going into your sessions, is the scripts basically in order, or do you kind of get fragmented bits that you kind of have to piece together? Like, I guess your knowledge of the game prior.
So it really depends. For the most part, you kind of do it in order, with the exception of battle stuff. So because battle things tend to be very shouted and exacerbated and just loud, it can be kind of hard on your vocal cords. And so most sessions, what they'll have you do is they'll save all the screaming and the battle stuff for the end of the session. So that way you can do that and then kind of go on your vocal rest and head out to drink your water, whatever you got to do for the day. And so we did all of Richard's battle stuff at the very end. And all of his, you know, kind of more shouted dialogue at the very end. But everything else, it was kind of just going through the game in order, which was nice, you know, because then you can kind of tell that coherent story. But there are definitely times where it can be a little bit fragmented. Like I've worked on other games where sometimes, you know, they don't even have the script fully ready yet. So you kind of have to jump back and forth, which can be a little bit jarring, but you know, you just kind of have to roll with the punches. So it's just all about, you know, what that particular director and that particular studio wants to do. But at least for this game, we did it all in order, which was great.
That's nice. But I guess you're doing all your more anime sort of lines. Like as an actor, do you have to like prep like prepare yourself for that, or are you kind of, now that you've done a lot of like anime and some games, it just comes naturally? Especially like the Battle's Cries, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely comes a little bit more naturally. I would say some of the things that I could still have not trouble with, but definitely want to hear reference in Japanese, or like I like to call them the anime noises, which are the just like the yeah, you know, like all those like little, you know, like the little reacts or the little like I had to do a couple, you know, say you know, stuff like that. And that sometimes, especially when it's written in the script, it's either just like react is the line, or an ellipses, or just something, because there's no way to like, you know, type that out. I mean, sometimes they'll physically type out the noise that you're supposed to make, like they'll put ha or ya or saya or whatever, you know. So sometimes you have that, but like most of the time, my personal process, what I'll do is I'll just be like, hey, we're getting up to some anime noises. Can you play me the JP for reference? And then I'll just kind of like get in the ballpark of what they're doing, just to make sure that, you know, it's coherent for the game. Because if I make you know, a ha when they're doing a you know, a guh, it's not gonna quite fit. But yeah, it's those are some of the things that I know how to do them, but I just want to make sure I'm doing the right anime noise. But when it comes to like battle chatter and you know, kind of the more anime-esque stuff, I've gotten kind of used to it at this point. You know, there are times where it can seem a little silly out of context, but understanding the medium and understanding that, like, you know, it's okay to sound silly right now because it's going to sound really cool in the game is also kind of in that trust aspect.
So what's your favorite anime voice
sound?
Like sound?
Thingy? Yeah. What's the one that you enjoy just using?
I think the one, just because I sometimes even catch myself doing it in real life, is just the, you know, like the clenched teeth kind of noise, where you're just like, it's like a either like a dismissal kind of noise, or annoyed kind of noise. Yeah. I've done that so much in projects that I've catch myself doing that in real life when I get annoyed, and I'm like, oh no, I'm turning into a real life anime character. Oh. But those ones are, you know, are kind of fun. But I would say in general too, just doing like moveset lines is always really fun. Like doing Richard's S-Craft was so fun. I was like, yes, give it to me. So doing ultimate lines are always really fun too.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I mean, yeah, I get paid to scream and be a maniac. It's great. I secretly how I deal with the demons inside of my head.
Right. Yeah. Purge them right out.
That's how. Just let it all out. Scream it out.
Yep.
Oh man, but like, how did how you were describing your experience with, let's say, the Trails vocal recordings? Is that kind of like most companies do the same way when you're dealing with other games or, you know, media that you're recording?
Typical experience.
Typical experience, exactly.
Yeah, it's a fairly typical experience across the board, because it's not necessarily up to Falcom or Gung Ho the way they do it. There's a certain aspect to it, but because these are all done at specific studios rather than, you know, in-house, like if I was doing a game for, I'll use a game that definitely has an in-house studio. Like if I do a game for Blizzard, or if I do a game for Riot or Santa Monica Studios, you know, like they have probably an in-house process. But a lot of JRPGs are typically outsourced to specific recording studios. So like this game, for example, was recorded at Side. There are other recording studios, like people might be familiar with PCB. Or you know, there's Cup of Tea, who do like the Fire Emblem stuff and a lot of other games. Okay. Or, you know, there's Studiopolis, who does games and they do anime and stuff like that too. So each studio kind of has their own process, but they're generally fairly similar with how they're all done. So most of it is like spreadsheet based. You kind of have all your lines in succession. If you have any context around those lines, they'll typically show you the context. And stuff like that, and like timing and whatnot. But the process tends to be fairly similar from studio to studio. There's some little quirks and things like that, depending on, you know, who's directing at the time that they personally like. But that's also, you know, kind of on the actor too, to remember who you're working with and who and what they like. So like, I know what Valerie Aram likes versus what Mark Hawes likes versus what another director that I might work with likes, and I know their little quirks and things like that, and how to kind of adjust to their workflow. But it's all typically pretty similar across the board, and it's all fun.
Good. Well, do you have any advice, I guess, for anyone interested in voice acting? Like, what would you be your go-to advice for newcomers?
The TLDR would probably be there's an amazing website called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. It sounds like a joke website, but it's a real website made by an incredibly talented gentleman by the name of D. Bradley Baker. He is a veteran in this industry. He's been doing prelay animation, Western cartoons. He does video games. He does a lot of things. Like he's in everything from like SpongeBob to Overwatch. So like he does a lot of things, and he has a lot of frequently asked questions and things like that for beginners. And it's a great site I would recommend anybody check out if they're starting from zero. But if I had to give personal advice, there's kind of two routes. There's the mental advice, and then there's the physical advice that can be applied. I would say the physical advice is like any other thing that you want to pursue, whether it's a hobby or maybe you want to turn it into a full-time career. It will take some both financial and time investment. So, you know, you don't have to immediately jump into getting fancy recording equipment and a nice booth setup and all these things. But having a decent little thing to start out with, even if it's just, you know, a little USB microphone and a padded box to start out with, just having something and having a space set up in your home or wherever it is in your room that you can go there, get yourself in the mental state to record and have fun is very, very important. And you can eventually build up more over time. You know, I've been doing this for close to 15 years now. And I remember starting on a little gaming headset mic when I was doing little fan projects online when I was like 13, 14 years old. And now I have, you know, super nice equipment because I've made money and reinvested into myself and all this stuff. So when it comes to the physical side of things, having some equipment that you can have a half decent sound is great. But it's also just going to take time and patience. And everybody has to start somewhere, and everybody typically starts very small. You know, having fun making your own projects, you know, your own little fan dubs or your own little, you know, comic dubs or whatever content you want to make. Start out there. You know, there's also some great sites like Casting Call Club where you can find other people that are making fan projects that you can audition for and have fun with. You can start building up slowly to doing more professional stuff on sites like voices.com or voices123, where you can start actually doing jobs for money, which is great. And then just slowly building up. And, you know, then there's agents and all this stuff. And I can get into that here in a little second, but a big mental thing too, that everybody should be aware of is it is a journey. It doesn't happen overnight. Very rarely does it happen even within the first few years. You know, like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years and only just now am I starting to get in some of the quote unquote biggest projects or whatever you want to quantify them as. So be prepared for a lot of no's, a lot of time that has to be invested, and a lot of dedication because of that patience that's required. So, you know, going out and getting acting training, you know, not just voice acting training, but acting training. Maybe joining your local, you know, theater program, or, you know, finding scripts to read online and practicing reading them aloud, reading books aloud. You know, there's plenty of things that you can be doing to work towards becoming better and better. You know, Crispin Freeman, who's a very veteran and legendary voice actor in this industry, once said, "Success is just the movement towards a worthy ideal." And as long as you're doing little steps every day, every week, every month to move towards where you want to be, it will happen. It just takes time. And once you feel you're ready, once you feel like you genuinely feel you're ready, you can go out, you can get a commercial demo produced, which is doing commercials and advertisements, because that's mostly what agencies are interested in. Spoiler alert, video games and anime don't make nearly as much money as doing a commercial. And obviously when agencies are focused on making commission, and a portion of what you make, they're definitely going to be more focused on the stuff that pay a lot more, because then they get more money. So getting a commercial demo made, submitting to all your local agencies, and just don't be afraid to be a little annoying. Be a little bit of a squeaky wheel when you're ready and really trying to put yourself out there professionally. A healthy dose of annoyance is good, because everybody is busy. Everybody may miss an email. They may, accidentally, just delete it, or maybe they read it and they just forgot, whatever. So be prepared to be a little bit annoying if it's out of your comfort zone. And just dedicate yourself to building a professional brand and, all these things. And you'll definitely be well on your way. Obviously, I could do a whole hour seminar on how to really get into voice acting. But those are kind of the biggest things. Just patience, dedication, learning how to take a no a million times over, and being prepared for it to be a journey are kind of the biggest things. And again, if you check out that website, iwantobeavoiceactor.com, it has a lot of beginner tips and places you can go to get classes, cheap equipment to start out with, and a lot of other really cool resources that I'd recommend everybody check out for sure.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of great advice there. And a lot of it, I think, also applies to content creation.
I think a lot of it applies to anything in the entertainment industry.
That too.
Mm-hmm. So whether you're making music, whether you're creating content, whether you're trying to start Twitch streaming, whatever it is, it's just patience, and making sure that you're in it because you enjoy it, not because you want to be famous or you want to, do a lot of really cool things. Because if that's what you're in it for, then it's going to take a long time and you're probably going to lose interest.
Mm-hmm. Just want that's probably the most, probably the best segment on this podcast so far.
The most valuable.
That little bit. The most valuable. That was very good. I felt motivated as I was listening to you.
It's a motivational speech.
You guys are killing it too. So I've been checking out all your guys' content for sure. JRPG Pursuit, each one of your channels individually, you guys are killing it too. And just as long as you guys keep at it, I can only imagine, you guys are already up to some really cool things. You guys are getting invited to cons and doing panels and all this stuff. You guys are cool. I can't wait to see where you guys go for sure.
Well, like you said, sometimes you just got to be a little annoying, and we are.
Be a little annoying.
I've been overdosing on being annoying. Yeah, that's been my secret.
Yeah, as long as you do it in a healthy amount, and you're not, doing it too much to be a problem.
Amount. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's been my mistake.
Look,
being
being Brandon, I'm pretty sure anything for you is a healthy amount. You're killing it.
Just fine.
That's great to hear. Well, speaking of streaming, like you mentioned, you are streaming, and I would love to hear a little bit more about how that's been going since you've I know you were doing it before, but I feel like you've been really ramping it up lately. And talk about that.
So I've been trying to slowly get back into Twitch streaming. Obviously it's definitely not my main pursuit in life currently, but it is something that I want to do, not only to have something to do in my free time, but to also get back to the fans. I'm lucky enough that I have as much as I try to deny it, I have a pretty cool job as, for my life. So that also allows me to share some of the things that I've been working on with people, and also just to allow myself to be accessible to people, if they want to ask me questions, if they want to, pick my brain or whatever. It allows me to have a platform that people can reach me and really, interact with me. So it's been going great. I've been trying to get used to adding it more into my schedule, and as you said, I've been ramping it up more lately, especially towards the release of Sky, which we're pre-recording this now, but at the time of when this is coming out, I'll actually be doing a subathon on Twitch for the release of the game, which is going to be super awesome. I'm doing a week-long subathon, which is the first time I've even tried doing anything remotely this ambitious, I'll say. So it's been super fun being able to share different games that not only I enjoy playing, but also sometimes I happen to be in. Trails in the Sky first chapter is just one of many that I can't wait to share with people. And obviously I have some more things cooking, but NDAs be what they are. I can't wait to share those other projects whenever they eventually come out too. And it's been going fantastic, and I would love if more people from the Trails community and the JRPG community in general were to stop by, because it's always great to have new people to chat with, for sure. And I really hope this subathon goes well. I obviously I don't know in the moment, but I got a lot of really cool things happening for that.
It's September or something? Or whatever it is on Twitch.
September, I think is what they call it. Yeah.
Perfect time to do it.
Yeah, that was kind of the plan.
Yeah.
Luckily, it all also happened to work out that the game is coming out on the 19th, which at the time of this airing, it already is out, and I hope everybody's enjoying it.
You've already been loving it. Some of you have probably already beaten it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some people were already hitting level cap from just playing the demo. I'm like, you crazy people.
That is wild.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Especially the amount of XP they give you.
Yeah. They barely. They
scale it so far down when you level up. It's like,
it's so stingy at some point, and you're like,
I'm almost worried that people did that, because like, unless they're trying to do nightmare runs, like, you might be like making the game too easy for you at that point. Like, I know for this game they intentionally made it a lot more difficult than previous entries. I think objectively the Cold Steel series at least on normal was fairly easy to play through, and
even
so this time on normal the game is actually like, it's actually posing a bit of a challenge.
In the prologue.
Yeah.
I was extremely surprised at that.
I remember when I was doing
a couple times real bad.
When I was doing the prologue, and I got to the Josette fight. I'm over here playing on normal, and then she immediately hits her rage mode, and then just stampedes me 3 times. I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I guess I just die.
It really harkens back to the original.
You could lower the difficulty if you need it. I'm like,
yeah, and that's
stop rubbing it in.
Yeah, do it because you suck at the game. Lower the it felt like
is this too hard? Did you want to turn it down? That's okay.
One of my favorite IPs of all time is Devil May Cry, and it reminded me of when I played Devil May Cry 3 for the first time. And it's like, do you want to lower the difficulty? Like, after you die like 2 or 3 times in a row? I'm like, really, game? You're insulting me.
Come on, baby. You want to.
Yeah. And I'm just like, it's so tempting, but I'm also not a wimp. And maybe that's the Dark Souls player in me that's speaking.
Yeah, it's like my self-respect insists that I not do this.
I'm a masochist.
I have to beat this.
No, 100%. I have that's
we'll be sure that your socials and channels and whatnot are in the description.
Will be down below.
I appreciate it.
Everybody can find it. And also, if you're listening to this, folks, the morning that it comes out, I will be joining friend George on the stream tonight from when you're listening to this.
Yes.
Wednesday night.
Yes.
Tonight.
I'm sure this is dropped in the morning.
September 24th. Let's just throw the date out there.
September 24th, that day.
Time is a flat circle, but so hope you'll come and hang out.
I'll come hang out in the chat.
Heck yeah.
I'll gladly be there. So
yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and I have a lot of other really cool guests planned too. Like, I have our Gilbert, Josh Pinkowski is going to be coming on. I also am still trying to figure out times, but I have the voice of Julia Schwartz coming on as well. Possibly, I have a lot of other people in the community coming on, like Felix Wind. I have Hans Gay, who obviously works directly with Falcom, coming on, and some other really cool people playing as well. So like, if anybody is a fan of people in the Trails community, I'm trying to get some of the best, and you guys are all one of them. So if any of you guys want to hop on top of Brandon, I'm more than welcome to have you guys as well, because I like genuinely watching your guys' content when I was studying for Richard was like so vital to the process. Watching Brandon and Emily, and as I started watching the JRPG podcast, I learned more about you, Dala, too. So like, it was awesome. Yeah. All of you guys' content is so vital to the process for actors that I appreciate everything you guys do.
Oh, well, that's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
but I think this episode was awesome.
Yes.
Thank you again for agreeing to be here.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. I
really appreciate it.
it.
Yeah. And why don't you just tell us, again, this is going to be listed below, but tell us where people can find you on the internet.
So you can find me on Twitter, at GeorgePeterVO. I do have a Blue Sky. I'm trying to get better at using it, but for right now, it's mostly just work updates. But if you have a Blue Sky, you can find me at GeorgePeterVO on Blue Sky as well. I think it's like georgepetervo.bsky.social or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can also find me on Twitch at GeorgePeterVO. Basically, anywhere on the internet that I might have an account, it's probably at GeorgePeterVO. And then also another really cool thing I'd love to plug, if you were to allow me, is
sure.
I'm going to have a Streamly signing coming up for people who like Streamly and like to get prints and other memorabilia and things like that from Streamly directly from actors that are signed. I'm going to have a Streamly event coming out, I believe October 24th. I want to say that's the date. I don't remember off the top of my head. You can check the page, but you can find me on streamly.com/GeorgePeter. I'll be having some Richard merch up there, and I might even have some merch of some other games if I get to announce them as well, that you can get signed from me live on stream. Or, maybe if that's not your thing, I could do a little shout out video for you too, have some options there. And if anybody wants to pick up a print. But other than that, if you guys want to see me at a con, contact your local con, say, hey, invite this George Peter guy. I'd love to come out to any cons that would have me and meet some of you guys in person too. So that's kind of where you can find me, or where I might be able to find you.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, yes, thanks again. And thanks to all of you who have been watching and listening. Hope you enjoyed this as much as we did. I'm sure you did. But thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Thanks especially to our members for making the show possible. We really, really, really appreciate you guys and all that you do for the show. So thank you. And I guess until next week, we'll say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.